have 12 requests for public comment at today's meeting. I believe all are for consent agenda-related comments or matters that are generally affecting the administration of justice. We also have 5 written comments for today's agenda items. They are included in council members' materials and are also posted on our website. I will now call upon the first of our 12 speakers for public comment today. You each have 3 minutes. Justice Miller will be keeping time, and don't be startled if he interrupts you to give you a time left. And I will call then first Mayor John Huerta. He's not coming, thank you. Then I call Mr. Kevin Dayton, President and Chief Executive Officer.
Kevin Dayton, President and CEO of Labor Issue Solutions, LLC, based in Roseville. I'm here to speak in opposition to the project labor agreement that has contractors will need to sign to construct your $550 million San Diego County new central courthouse. We first heard rumors in February that maybe there was something in the works behind the scenes that would require contractors to sign a union agreement in order to work on that courthouse. But as myself and other people that I work with continued to research and make phone calls about, we couldn't pin anything down. We couldn't get any documentation. And people continued to deny there was anything going on. In early May, the pre-qualification questionnaire came out from the Administrative Office of the Courts, and it mentioned nothing in there about a project labor agreement. And yet the rumors continued to persist. There was nothing on the last agenda of the Judicial Council of California at all about what was going on, yet the rumors persisted. I finally filed a Public Records Act request with the Administrative Office of the Courts in May. And sure enough, in early June, I got the documentation at last, and there it was. Apparently, the State Building and Construction Trades Council of California, the lobbying group for construction unions in the state, requested that contractors have to sign a project labor agreement with the unions in order to work on this courthouse. And that request was accepted. I don't know what the criteria is of the Judicial Council or the Administrative Office of the Courts to accept requests or deny them. But theirs was accepted, and it was all done behind the scenes. I got a letter last week informing me that this was a done deal and that the contractors would be signing this project labor agreement. This is, of course, in a place where the voters in both the county of San Diego and in the city of San Diego passed ballot measures saying that they don't want their governments mandating contractors to sign project labor agreements with unions. So obviously the unions must be thrilled and gloating that in a place where the people have said no project labor agreements, they've got a big one on a big courthouse, and they've got one in a place where there are a lot of non-union contractors that were going to bid on it. What a tremendous accomplishment for them. I would just like to say to you, there should have been a vote on this, or at least it should have come up. The unions are always doing this throughout the state, always figure out ways to get their project labor agreements in place in a way that's done behind the scenes in backroom deals, so people like myself and the people who I work for, the contractors who want to work on this sort of thing, we never get a chance to speak out against it until it's done. This is inappropriate, wrong. Is this the way the Judicial Council of California operates? It certainly doesn't give me an impression. I've learned a lot about this group since I started looking at it. And you need to have a vote on this here, and I suggest that you don't do any project labor agreements. Do not let the unions monopolize your construction. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dayton. Mr. Eric Kristen.
Thank you, members of the Judicial Committee. My name is Eric Kristen. I'm the Executive Director of the Coalition for Fair Employment and Construction. I'm actually quite embarrassed to have to be here today to defend the right of non-union contractors to have the ability to work on projects paid for with their tax dollars. We've heard nothing in this meeting other than 2 things all day long. That the projects that have gone forward so far have been wonderful. They've been under budget. There have been no problems, testimony after testimony. And we've been hearing, secondly, that throughout the state, the system has no money. And yet you sign a project labor agreement on a $500+ million project, thereby all but guaranteeing a cost increase. Now, the dissembling and dishonesty that was contained within the letter that Mr. Jar sent out explaining why this PLA was needed is embarrassing in and of itself. And if that was the only thing that had happened here, then we would go about our way and just tell our contractors, well, maybe next time. But this is a publicly funded project in an area that has voted 58 to 42% to ban project labor agreements. These agreements are so controversial that 11 entities in California have banned them. Banned them, including the 10th largest city in America, San Diego. 58 to 42% a year ago, 2 weeks ago, voted to ban PLAs. And you bring this to that city, a city that's 90% non-union, workers from Helix Electric, one of the largest electrical contractors in the world, was a subcontractor that built this room, that helped build this building, will now not be bidding this project because of the project labor agreement. You are reducing competition. I have identified 12 different contractors who will not bid this project because of the PLA. This is offensive. It is offensive not only in the way the staff has conducted themselves in your name, but it's offensive in the rhetoric that's been used to justify it. That we will, and I quote through our Public Records Act request, because goodness knows this hasn't been discussed in public. It's been discussed in closed room sessions, public not allowed. What is happening here? What is going on with taxpayer-funded dollars? The comment in the letter that was given to us, as expected, we will be evaluating whether the PLA is expected will minimize the risk of project delays, improve the quality of work and the management of the project, improve the reliability of the workforce, and ensure the overall cost-effectiveness of the project. What an offensive way to talk to all the men and women, most of whom, again, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics in this country, 85% of whom wake up on a daily basis and choose to work in a union-free environment. What an offensive letter to write to those workers. Will improve the quality of work. What are the problems that were had? Here is where I'd like to come down from a business standpoint. Exactly what were the metrics? Exactly what was the empirical data that was demonstrated by staff before a $550 million project was deemed to be placed under the most controversial agreement facing the construction industry? Where is that data that allowed this arrogant, dissembling, dishonest letter to be written by your staff? Where is the empirical data that demonstrates exactly why you've decided to change your standard operating procedure and go with a PLA on the largest project you've undertaken? I want to see it. I want to understand the rationale, and I want to know why you didn't vote on it. I apologize for being so emotional today. We like to say with CFEC that we persuade using reason and motivate using emotion. But frankly, I am offended that I have to be here today. As much as I like coming to San Francisco on a beautiful weather day, the fact that we've had to do this is offensive. I'm passing out to you just one thing that we've been doing. If you haven't been paying attention, we have sent you packets of information.
20 seconds.
Thank you. That let you know what's going on. We have sent out mailers to tens of thousands of residents. The Union Tribune, the largest paper in the city, has taken out a blistering editorial on this process. This is not going over well in this city. I hope you're aware of that. And now you're going to reduce competition, increase costs, and exclude workers based on nothing other than their group affiliation. Please take a proper vote on this, do it in public, and reject the PLA. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kristen. Ms. Nicole Gary.
Good afternoon, Madam Chief Justice and members of the Judicial Council. My name is Nicole Gary with Associated Builders and Contractors of California. The Associated Builders and Contractors is a national trade association representing 22,000 members and more than 19,000 construction and industry-related firms. We're founded on the merit shop philosophy, and we help our members win work and deliver that work safely, ethically, and profitably for the betterment of its communities. ABC California is comprised of five local ABC California chapters as part of 72 ABC chapters nationwide who all encourage government officials to procure public works through fair and open competition by ensuring a level playing field for all qualified contractors and their skilled employees, regardless of union affiliation. Experience demonstrates this approach helps government agencies provide taxpayers with the best possible construction at the best possible price. We also, ABC California's craft and apprentice training programs are recognized by the California Department of Industrial Relations and cover a wide variety of skilled trades, including electrical, plumbing, sheet metal, HVAC, painters, laborers, carpenters, heavy equipment operators, mobile crane, and welding. We're troubled by learning of the nature that the PLA was signed for the San Diego courthouse construction, and it discriminates against 84% of California workers who are non-union. And these PLAs add 18% in additional costs. Our organization is fundamentally opposed to government-mandated project labor agreements because these agreements restrict competition, increase costs for the taxpayer, discriminate against non-union employees, and place merit shop contractors at a significant competitive disadvantage. These are anti-competitive agreements that stop fair and open competition. So we do not support the project labor agreement for the San Diego moving forward are also going to be considered to, the 35 courthouse projects are going to be considered in this manner as well. And we would encourage you to immediately adopt a fair and open competition policy that states the following. The administrative office of the court shall not in any contract for the construction or maintenance of California court construction require that a contractor, subcontractor, material supplier, or carrier engaged in the construction or maintenance of the project execute or otherwise become party to any project labor agreement, collective bargaining agreement, community benefit agreement, pre-hire agreement, or other agreement with employees, their representatives, or any labor organization as a condition of bidding, negotiating, being awarded, or performing work. I'd be happy to meet with you about this fair and open competition policy and would encourage you to, before any other decisions like this are made, to do a educational study session for yourself so you can all learn more about the merits of the pros and cons of project labor agreements before you make any decision to enter into these in the future. These are discriminatory to 84% of the construction industry in California. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Gary. Mr. Richard Markson.
Good afternoon, Madam Chief Justice and members of the council. I'm Richard Markson. I'm here today representing 3 organizations in California: the Western Electrical Contractors Association, the Plumbing, Heating, Cooling Contractors of California, and the Air Conditioning Trade Association. All 3 of the organizations are authorized either under state or federal law to train and dispatch apprentices in California for public works. And as many of you may know, California law requires the use of apprentices on any public construction project. These young men and women who enroll in an apprenticeship program make a 3 to 5 year commitment of developing through classroom instruction and on-the-job training the skills necessary for a lifelong career in construction. My clients operate apprenticeship programs as one of 3 entities who are recognized as sponsors. 2 of them have training facilities in San Diego County. The PLA hasn't been released yet, so we don't know the specifics of it, but I can tell you from my experience dealing with PLAs in California is that they typically restrict the dispatch of apprentices from only union-affiliated programs. The state of California recognizes 3 distinct entities, and as I said, PLAs typically restrict them to only union programs. If the PLA that has been executed for San Diego includes these restrictions, we believe that it violates at least the intent of Public Contracts Code 2500. And I will cite from that establishes that PLAs are only permissible if they prohibit discrimination based upon membership in a labor organization and dispatching workers for the project. Now, I realize that the Judicial Council operates under its own sections of the Public Contract Code that are separate from these, but it seems to me at least that it is incumbent upon the Judicial Council to at least embrace the intent of non-discrimination that the Public Contract Code section 2500 articulates. And in a decision from your own Supreme Court in 2000, the High Voltage Wire Works defined discrimination, and it says to make distinctions in treatment and show partiality in favor or prejudice against is the definition of discrimination. And we believe that by showing partiality in favor of one program over another, that this violates the intent of discriminating against these programs. Now, beyond the impact on apprenticeship, I will say that the construction entities that belong to my clients' organizations are adamantly opposed to the other provisions in project labor agreements. And while I'm sure that the speakers who will follow us today will talk about the great advantages of operating under a PLA and their historical significance, the most frequently cited claims in supporting
20
documents
seconds. 20 seconds.
for PLAs is to promote labor harmony. And it is troubling to me as a taxpayer and a citizen of California that we have to resort to signing exclusionary agreements that keep many contractors and apprentices from working on state-funded projects simply to promote labor harmony.